Hi everyone, I am reading outside today, so there might be some background noise, and you might also hear my dog growling when people pass our house. So apologies for that, but I'm reading chapter 2 of Horrorstör, and this chapter is called Dritzek, and that is what a Dritzek is. It looks like a sorting cabinet. It says both a storage solution and a place to rest. Dritzek is a modular seating arrangement that transforms even the smallest space into a wide open room. Let your imagination and your friendships roam. And this chapter starts next. Amy crossed the cafe and passed through the doors leading to the back of house. At the end of the long hallway lined with HR offices, IT offices, and sales offices, she slid open the door to the motivation room. Sitting alone on a Dritzek cube was a middle-aged woman who looked like a country western singer. All big blonde hair and too much mascara, nervously patting a tube of Blistex against her lips. "Ruth Ann," Amy asked in belief. "You, too?" "Well," Ruth Ann said, trying to keep her voice under control and twisting the cap back on her lip balm, "I'm not jumping to any conclusions." Amy closed the door and lowered herself onto another Dritzek sitting cube. Ruth Ann was as committed and responsible as Amy was lazy and untrustworthy. If Basil wanted to meet with both of them, the staff cuts had to be much worse than Amy imagined. Her brain began chasing itself in circles. If Ruth Ann was going, then she was definitely going. And if she was going, then everything was over. She'd lose her apartment. She'd have to move back into her mom's trailer. Working retail wasn't so bad if you got benefits and $12 an hour. But if she lost this job, she'd have no other option but mall retail. And all those jobs were minimum wage. And in Ohio, that meant $7.95 an hour. She couldn't live on $7.95 an hour. She was behind on rent as it is. And if Ruth Ann was going, she was definitely going. Around and around her brain went. "Did they say anything to you?" Amy asked. "No," Ruth Ann said, "but if we're both here, I'm sure Basil has a very good reason." "We're the first ones to go," Amy said. "He's firing us." "Let's make sure it's really raining before we worry about floods," Ruth Ann said. "This could turn out to be something nice." That was Ruth Ann all over. She remembered birthdays, she remembered hiring day anniversaries, she remembered children's names, she remembered what spouses did for a living, and she talked to older partners exactly the same as to younger ones. She never patronized, she never condescended, and she never said a mean word about anybody. She'd worked at the Youngstown store for 13 years after transferring to Cuyahoga just to try something new. At 47 years old, she'd never married, didn't have kids, and Amy had never heard of a serious boyfriend. She treated Orsk like her family and home, and every day she tried to make it a better place. As a cashier and checkout, she considered it her personal mission to send customers out the door with smiles on their faces. She lived to make other people happy. "I appreciate that you're looking on the bright side," Amy said, "but if you're here with me, it can't be good news." "Don't you worry," Ruth Ann said, pressing her lips together. "We'll just sit right here, and whatever comes, we'll get through it together." Then she leaned over and gave Amy a hug. Amy tried to say something, but her tear ducts felt swollen and her throat was a clenched fist. She knew that if she opened her mouth to say anything, some great big honking sob would claw its way out. She promised herself that she was not going to cry. They could take her job, but they would not take her dignity. Amy pulled back from Ruth Ann, gritted her teeth, and stared down at the carpet. How did it come to this? For the first 18 years of her life, she'd had one goal: get out of her mom's trailer. When the guidance counselor had laughed at her plans to go to college, she'd cobbled together enough grants to get into Cleveland State for commercial design. But then her mom remarried and her husband's income had pushed Amy into another need bracket. Without financial aid, she had to file papers as a non-continuing student. Now she was late with her rent again, and her 3 roommates had made it clear that she had 24 hours to deliver the $600 she owed, or they would throw her out. The more Amy struggled, the faster she sank. Every month, she shuffled around less and less money to cover the same number of bills. The hamster wheel kept spinning and spinning and spinning. Sometimes she wanted to let go and find out exactly how far she'd fall if she just stopped fighting. She didn't expect life to be fair, but did it have to be so relentless? Ruth Ann squeezed Amy's hand and offered her a clump of Kleenex. Amy waved it away. "I'm fine," she said. "I'm not crying." The 2 women sat next to each other, stiff and silent. Amy moved from shock to bargaining to depression, and right on through to righteous indignation, finally arriving at acceptance. Then her cycle of grief started all over again, and by the time Basil opened the door, she was back to righteous indignation. Before Basil could speak, Amy took the floor. If she was going down, she'd go out in a blaze of glory. "I know you got it in for me, and that's fine, but I cannot believe that you are firing the one decent good person in this place." "What?" Basil asked, caught off guard. Amy, don't, Ruth Ann began. No, Amy said, if I'm getting fired, I'll take it, but I want him to know that firing you is a huge mistake. She turned to Basil. Firing Ruth Ann is like clubbing a baby seal. It makes you evil. Everyone likes Ruth Ann. Amy, listen to me. Basil said, your brand connection is weak, your presentation leaves a lot to be desired, your attitude is aggressive and confrontational. And not at all consistent with core values. Don't do it, Amy said, please. But I'm not firing you, Basil finished. You're not? You're firing me? Ruth Ann squeaked. I'm not firing either of you, Basil said. I asked you here because I need your help. I have an extra job for tonight, a side project, and I need you to keep quiet about it. Relief flooded Amy's veins like a drug. In that moment, she would have agreed to anything, climbing Mount Everest, hijacking a plane, running naked across Orsk's 10-acre parking lot while playing the trombone. She nodded like a happy idiot, right along with Ruth Ann. But even as she did, the part of her brain that wasn't flooded with endorphins whispered, it's going to be something weird. It has to be something weird. It's going to be a little weird, Basil confirmed. How weird? Amy asked. Basil lowered his voice to action movie briefing volume. We've seen a lot of crimes against the store over the past 6 weeks. Opening shift is finding damaged merchandise every morning. Mirrors, dishes, a whole mattress hacked to shreds, picture frames, curtains yanked down from the walls. And this morning we had an incident with the Brooka. Incident? Ruth Ann asked. It was smeared with a substance, Basil said. Poop, Amy clarified. A substance, Basil repeated. That smelled like poop. We're 11% over on breakages, and Pat had to notify regional. He's also tasked me to lead an internal investigation. Pat was general manager of the entire store and Basil's direct superior. He once delivered a baby on a Musk, and he paid out of his own pocket for a karaoke DJ at the Christmas party. No one wanted to disappoint Pat. Naturally, Basil continued, I don't want to disappoint him. What about loss prevention? Ruth Ann asked. Don't they have cameras? Hundreds, Basil said, and I've reviewed the footage. But the lights are on a timer, and at 2 o'clock every morning they power down to twilight mode. I've decided that's when the damage must be happening, between 2 and 7:30 a.m. when the opening shift arrives. Maple, chill out, lay down. It's okay. Sorry. But that's impossible, Amy said. No one's ever here after 11. Apparently someone is, Basil said. I don't like the sound of this, Ruth Ann said, chewing her lip. I'm proposing that the 3 of us work an extra shift, tonight from 10 to 7. We'll wait in the break room, and once an hour we'll do patrols of the store. The showroom, the market room, and the self-service warehouse. If a vandal is sneaking in and trashing the place, we'll bust him and call the cops. Problem solved. I can't do tonight, Amy said. I've got plans. This wasn't exactly true, but she didn't relish the idea of being awake for 24 hours. It has to be tonight, Basil said. Regional already replied to Pat's email. They're sending a consultant team first thing tomorrow morning. They'll want a full tour of the store, and they cannot arrive to find a Brooka smeared with, you know. Why us? Amy asked. Because you're both loyal and reliable partners. Amy rolled her eyes. Seriously? Basil hesitated. All right, I'll be honest. I had Tommy and Greg from Replenishment all lined up, but the Indians are playing the Sox, so they backed out. Then I asked David Potts and his brother Russell, but this morning they called in sick. So I tried Edward Pena, but he has to watch his grandchildren. Then I tried Tanya from Cafe, but she's watching an eBay auction. Now I'm asking you because I know you'll both say yes. Really? Amy asked. You're positive? Ruth Ann will agree because she's discreet, she's responsible, and she cares about Orsk. You'll agree because you want to go back to Youngstown. I saw your transfer request on the computer this morning. I know you don't like this store, and I know you don't like me, but if you work this extra shift, I'll make sure your transfer goes through, and you won't ever have to see me again. Amy's instinct was to fire back with a wisecrack, but she was startled to realize his proposal actually sounded pretty good. You'll pay time and a half? Even better, double overtime, Basil said, in cash at the end of the shift, just to show how much I appreciate your participation and your discretion. Amy quickly did the math. 8 hours at double overtime would net her $200, enough to keep her roommates at bay until her next paycheck. Count me in, she said. Me too, Ruth Ann said. It'll be fun, like a sleepover party. Basil shook their hands, sealing the deal. Meet me at the employee entrance at 10 o'clock. He explained, I'll let you inside while operations finishes cleaning. We'll wait in here until everything's quiet, then we'll do our first sweep. And not a word to anyone, understand? This is a covert operation. The door to the break room burst open, and Matt and Trinity tumbled inside. There's people in here, Trinity exclaimed, feigning surprise. Hey guys, Matt said, what's up? Basil immediately tried to act like nothing was going on, which made it look like something was absolutely going on. We were just dialoguing, he said. He turned to Amy and Ruth Ann. I'll thank you for your feedback. It's been duly noted and I'll pass it along. Feedback about what? Matt asked. Is everything okay? Trinity asked, searching Amy's eyes for clues. There's a really weird energy in this room, like someone's just had a difficult conversation. You better be on your break, Basil said as he headed out the door. I've got to get back. Trinity sat down across from Amy and Ruth Ann. Seriously, what did he want? Are you guys fired? You can talk to me. Were you two creeping around the halls eavesdropping? Amy asked. We're gathering information that is critical to staff morale, Trinity said. No one's fired, Ruth Ann said. Told you so, Matt said to Trinity. I know they'd never fire Ruth Ann. Trinity stuck out her tongue, and she and Matt began to flirt-fight. Amy had heard that Trinity and Matt were hooking up, but she'd also heard the same rumor about Trinity and half the floor partners, male and female. She was a sort of revved-up party girl that guys found irresistible and Amy found irritating. I gotta go, she said, standing up. Trinity put herself between Amy and the door. If you weren't getting fired, what did Basil want? Do you have to do diversity training? Is he putting you in part-time? Is the store closing? Sorry not to give you your daily allowance of store drama, Amy said, but I've got more important things to do, like floor-checking tossers. Matt and I used science to show that big changes are coming, Trinity said. Things in this store are approaching a crisis point. Any information you have will help us complete the big picture. Seriously, Matt said, is the store closing? Come on, Ruth Ann, Trinity said. What happened? We need hard data. I think it's probably best if I don't say anything, Ruth Ann said. You're killing us, Trinity said. You are literally killing us. Good, Amy said. Maybe then you'll stop being so annoying. And with that, Amy abandoned Ruth Ann to the two most irritating people in Orsk and walked back to her shop where she spent the next 2 hours comparing tosser inventory numbers. When her shift ended at 4 o'clock, Amy drove around for a half an hour, then decided to get sleep before the secret overnight shift began at 10. She couldn't risk going back to her apartment without the money she owed, and Basil had made it clear she wasn't getting paid until the overnight shift was finished. She was too embarrassed to nap in the Orsk parking lot with all of her coworkers walking by, so she drove a mile down Route 77, pulled into the parking lot of a Red Lobster, parked by the dumpster, and leaned her seat all the way back. It was hot. The interior of her car stank of oil, and her feet smelled like coffee. Amy closed her eyes, trying to still the buzzing in her head. At first, she didn't think she'd be able to fall asleep, but the day had been long and her emotions were toast. After 45 minutes of sitting and staring and thinking about what a wreck her life had become, after 45 minutes of wondering how she was ever going to escape Orsk and get a sit-down job, after 45 minutes of feeling sweat trickling down her ribs, she fell into a state of sticky semi-consciousness. And as her mind closed up shop and went dark, Amy wondered dully if she would be stuck on the hamster wheel forever, stuck in retail, stuck at Orsk forever. But she didn't have to worry. Tonight would be her final shift. Uh-oh. That's not good. Clearly not great. But the last part of this has a, I believe, an Orsk recruitment poster. And it just says, it's not just a job, it's the rest of your life. Interested in joining the Orsk family? Our entry-level partner positions offer competitive salaries with room for growth. Once you're here, you'll never want to leave. Available positions include staging and design partners, shopkeepers, and cart partners. Staging and design partners develop range prestige, perform daily visual display maintenance, and proactively respond to upper-level directives regarding the commercial calendar for seasonal success. Shopkeepers develop a deeper understanding of the Orsk core concepts and communicate this knowledge to visitors with maximum competence in your area of responsibility, utilizing direct mouth-to-ear retail communication. And finally, cart partners contribute to an environment where Orsk culture is a strong and living reality that embraces the diversity of partners and visitors, must be able to lift 75 pounds. Let you become we at Orsk. So that's it for today. I'll do chapter 3 next time. Thank you. Bye.